getting a noon gig, so we can all come to work one day.
Okay, I went ahead and sent the meeting live.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
All right, first thing to do today is approve the agenda. Is there any additions?
When the sheriff does a review, I'd like to also visit the check we're holding for landscaping.
Okay,
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, approval of minutes. I'm gonna take a moment and go back to Monday, January 10th. Third paragraph, we're gonna go ahead and change, I'm making a motion that we change a motion by Johnson to approve a reduction of 21% of the increase. Currently says motion by Houseman to approve a reduction of 25%.
Yeah, I should say Johnson made 21% increase to the sheriff.
To the sheriff.
Yes. Then everything else would follow suit.
Okay.
Which would equal the 25% reduction, but the motion was 21%.
It's not the one that passed. He just wants, there was a little bit of a,
The motion still died. So the second sentence is perfect. I'll second that motion.
So you're making an amendment to those minutes.
So what does it need to read to approve, to,
Motion by Johnson to approve a 21% increase to sheriff.
okay.
there's been a motion and a second for an amendment for the January 10th, 2022 minutes. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was thinking, who made the motion
I did.
and the second? Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve Monday, January 24th.
I will second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, first item on the agenda, environmental health fiscal year 23 budget review.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Carrie.
morning.
And I didn't put this on the agenda, but obviously this will include planning and zoning too. Probably should have had that listed. but-
So they have planning and zoning and environmental health.
Correct.
Mhm.
Well, let's do planning and zoning first. There's really not a whole lot of changes in there other than the salaries. The other thing this morning, I just got the proposal from Region 12 to do the comprehensive plan. I emailed that all to you first thing this morning, so whether you've had a chance to check on it or not. Their lump sum fee, $21,500 is less than what we had originally anticipated. We thought it would be around 25. So the current fiscal year that we're in right now, we have $6,250 budgeted to go towards that comprehensive plan. And then 23's budget, we've got $18,750 is written in the worksheet. But if it's less than that, we could actually reduce that down to $15,250. And that would encompass then the $21,500 for the comprehensive
You say
plan.
you sent that email this morning?
Yes.
We just got it a little bit ago.
Yeah, like literally 8:15 or so this morning.
So what you're saying is really the only thing on this budget worksheet that could potentially change would be that number.
That and the salaries from the salary increases. So that 18,750 could be reduced down to the 15,250, and that would cover
Oh, is that what you said? It would cost 15,000?
21.
Just if 21,500 for the whole thing.
Okay.
I've got 6250 in this fiscal year's budget, because
Okay.
I think last year we had discussed breaking it up and giving them some this year and some next year. Chris Whitaker at Region 12 said, we'll probably, with the census information coming in, it's probably best to start it in May or June. So if we give them the 6250 in June, and then we pay out 15,250 in July, then that'll get everything covered.
How often do we do a comprehensive plan?
It's supposed to be 10, but it's been like 12.
Okay.
So we're due.
It's funny, I noticed it yesterday when I was up in our room. There's the
Yeah.
binder up there, the comprehensive plan.
It's been 11, 12 years
There's a
now.
lot of other dusty things.
So the plan proposal is in the email that I sent. It's several pages long if somebody wants. Sit here and look at it right now, but
So you're saying we should reduce that 18,750, 16?
yeah, we won't need that additional 3,500. But I just got the information this morning, so.
Well, if we're not gonna need it, I'd say we can reduce it right away.
Not a problem.
So that figure would be what then?
15,250.
15,250? Okay.
Is there any other questions about planning and zoning?
That mileage,
Mileage?
of course, you never know what that's gonna be. Looks
No,
like right now you haven't used any.
I haven't gone anywhere
You
for
probably don't
planning
go
and
there.
zoning.
Yeah, you probably don't go anywhere.
I really don't. I think a lot of the driving around was when I was doing GIS and mapping and stuff, and since I'm not really doing that, I get to look at the computer screen and take care of it kind of that way, so I'm not sure. I'm only 1 year in, so something may come up for mileage, but maybe going to ISAC or some other conference that way if he was driving his own vehicle rather than taking a county vehicle. I just left it there because I'm not sure what might come up.
If you look at the past history, it looks like it isn't used a lot. That's why I'm kind of questioning
No,
it.
it probably doesn't. 1,500, yeah, we could probably drop that down to 500 as far as that goes.
I'll do that.
Totally up to you guys.
What's the
I
rest?
don't know if it's a real big deal. You know.
Obviously,
Wanna drop it,
if
go
it
ahead.
doesn't get used, it doesn't get used. I mean, I'm not,
I don't know if I want to go to 500 just because of 2019 and if obviously 20, 21, 22, not 22.
and I can't explain what he used it for. I'm assuming it was going to
ISAC.
ISAC or other zoning related meetings. So that would be food and mileage.
What about 1,000? Just to be safe.
Let's just, yeah, let's lower to 1,000.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any more questions? On the P and Z?
Okay, so we can go to environmental health. Not a whole lot of changes in environmental health either. I did meet with Crawford County supervisors last week. And they indicated that they would approve a $5,000 contract increase. We're gonna need to take a look at fees and stuff too, possibly raising fees. And we only have control of a couple of fees. The rest of them are set by the state and we can't change those, but like septic permits, we could increase. We could increase well permits. Those are probably the two main things we have some control over. So,
So that 5,000 you were just talking about, will that get us up to current? Or will they still be,
no, there's still gonna be,
Did you guys have that meeting?
what, yes, you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
No, Rich was there.
Did they send a Zoom link?
Yeah, I forwarded it to you. Either way,
but so,
we
that-
got it taken care of.
but the 5,000 won't get them current, but that is a
No.
step in the right
It's a
direction.
step up. So
Did you
this-
ask for more and they didn't approve it, or? is
no,
that-
I
agreed
asked
to
for
the
the
5,000?
5,000. I
Okay,
mean,
gotcha.
5,000.
Okay,
So
perfect.
last year we increased the fee 2,500. So in 2 years, we've increased the fee $7,500.
Okay.
That'll get us closer. We'll see how this year goes. Because our fees are, we never know what we're gonna get. We don't know how many septics we're gonna get. We don't know how many wells we're gonna get. So every year is different. So this year, and I sent out the, thought I did, the breakdown from 2021. Did you get that? No, I'm
I
sorry.
don't remember. Anyway. But you said that they raised it 5,000. Did you leave them with the assumption that we probably have to look at it again next year to see how things go?
What we did
I
was
mean, they're under that
we
understanding?
left it as something we need to look at every year.
Okay, all right.
So several years ago, we had said, let's have a committee to review these things. Now, that's been so long ago that most of the Crawford County supervisors weren't even there at the time. And I think, I'm sure you were here, but you probably wouldn't have been on the committee,
I was on-
whether it was Neil and Mark, I'm not sure. Were you on it? You remember talking about the committee?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure you were here. It's been a
Probably
while.
Probably when Mark was on.
But if we need to get a committee together, a couple representatives from this board, a couple representatives from that board, and then sit down and discuss it. I don't want to go at them with a large number right up front. I mean, if we do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here.
Do you think we'll keep gaining year over year then?
I think it's gonna get less
Okay,
as it goes on.
If we get back into a position where we are on the positive side of Crawford, because what I did for since 2009 was I kept track of the positive years when we were making money off Crawford, and then the negative years where we were losing. So last year, 2 fiscal years ago, we had lost and then lost for a second year. So we need to get back into the positive to start making that up. And I'm hoping that will happen, but because of everything we've got going on right now, and we're not, people aren't wanting us to come to their houses and do water tests. And we had the pool shut down for a year. We had tanning shut down for a year. So all of that impacted the last couple of years' numbers. And I hope that we don't keep continuing that kind of a trend, and that at some point we'll get back. But if we don't, then yes, we're gonna have to keep going back and saying, we need another 2,500, we need another 1,500. I think we just need to look at it every year and evaluate where we're at and where we hope it's going back the other direction. We don't want to lose Crawford County. And so I don't want to keep going and jabbing at them for money every year either. Because, again, my concern is that at some point they'll say, we need-
As long as they're aware that we're gonna look at this
They
as
are.
we need to.
they're absolutely aware of
And
it.
that there
They're
may
okay.
need to be changes. If they're open-minded
Yes.
about it, I don't have an issue with
I
that.
had no arguments from them whatsoever, even on the 5,000. They understand.
that was my question, was if you were getting pushback from them. And it doesn't
No,
sound like you are.
absolutely not. Nope. So the 34 is including the 5,000 increase. Everything else I pretty much left the same. Again, with some of these programs, we just don't know what we're gonna get year after year. Passports are gonna be down because COVID. So someday, hopefully that'll come back. Salaries then under the expenses would be the change with a 5.5%. Mailing postage, I did increase a bit because they keep increasing the postage rate. And then pretty much everything else on here is exactly the same. So under motor vehicle, which would be on the second page, third from the bottom, that 3,000, I believe we talked about not putting that in the capital account for this current fiscal year, just to try and close the gap a little bit. It is in there for the next year. I mean, I can't cut that line item off completely. At some point, we're gonna need to replace the vehicle. And I don't wanna have to come to you and say, oh, well, we're $6,000 short.
How much is in that account right
I guess I don't know.
Okay.
We probably got a couple years worth in it.
I was thinking under 20.
I was thinking under 10.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, was under.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily want to have to do that every year, but on years where we're looking, really behind, that's money that doesn't need to be spent necessarily. Now, obviously, if we have something happen to a vehicle, then we'll regret that decision, but otherwise, that would be the only other line item that could be modified, but again, if it's.
now? I think it's better to keep it there.
I think it is too. So on the second line there where it says motor vehicle equipment,
That's for repairs and
okay. And that's just a one-time expense.
that's like
That's not building, you're not building that.
no,
No.
that's for repair.
Right.
So if we crack a windshield or if we need
Right,
a
yeah.
tire or
Yep.
that
Gotcha.
kind of stuff. So only the motor vehicle line item down the bottom gets transferred from this into a capital account and gets built up.
So that's the same, that motor vehicle, 3,000, that capital's the same number figure, just that you're moving it there, okay. All that.
Any more questions on that one? Thank you. All right, second item, agenda item, the sheriff's fiscal year 23 budget review.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We'll start off with the jail one. It starts off at the top, second row, where prisoner room and board. Everybody got that one?
Yep.
Okay, so for room and board for this upcoming fiscal year, I put down 100,000. I think we'll be quite a bit higher than that, but there's no way to know. And if you look over to the line to the left of that, you'll see for 21, 22, we had for revenue $13,000 and we're showing $43,651. When we took on Calhoun County's prisoners a while back and we signed that contract with them, we created a line item strictly for room and board for the jail that we never had before. Otherwise, it always went into the sheriff's budget under miscellaneous fees. So that's why that number's higher. 10,000 for concession commissary for total revenue $110,000. The salaries were increased by 5.5 across the board. I did raise overtime up a little bit. Health insurance was 97,403. And if you look at the other year's budget, the reason that was so high is because we were in the process of hiring people. And we didn't know if it was going to be a family plan. And anytime we're budgeting, we're hiring people, we always figure for a family plan.
Back up one second. When you said overtime, is that under the holiday pay?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Can we change that, Courtney? The wording on that?
And have it say whatever you want.
I think
But a
we'll
lot of
change
it,
I think it should say overtime.
well, a lot of it is holiday.
Oh, it is, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you guys, I mean, they do get some overtime,
they do.
but a majority of it's like when they work a holiday, they get double time or time,
I
double.
mean, just looking at you,
overtime
I think he added a Ken Pingree birthday holiday.
or- Yeah, I mean.
Not yet.
Whatever the sheriff.
But there
wants
is
it to
overtime
say.
in the jail.
Yeah, so you,
Okay.
we could have it say overtime / holiday pay, whatever. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. What do you think, Sheriff? What do you want to call
We can call it holiday /OT. Custodial supplies, $6,000. I raised that. I think we're gonna have definitely more cleaning in the new building. $15,000 for general office supplies. $2,500 for safety and protective supplies. $7,000 for uniforms. $1,000 for furniture and appliances. Mileage, $2,000. $13,000 for education and training. $17,500 for medical and health services, and that is for the prisoners. If we have to pay a medical bill of theirs. $5,000 for construction equipment. $16,000 for data processing. $100,000 for the food preparation. We did sign that year contract with Consolidated Correctional Food Service Company, and they are over there. They have been cooking since the first of the year, and then we just wheel the meals over to the jail. It'll be nice when we're in the other building soon, but so far that seems to be working good. $450 for dues and memberships. Other equipment, $10,000. I think as we're in there for a while, there'll be more startup things that we need. And then the FICA and IPERS were adjusted as per the rate.
Is there any questions on this budget worksheet? All right. We want to go to next.
Oh,
5 or 52?
we'll start off with, it says page number 1 of 4 at the bottom right. The second line over should start off with mileage. Everybody got that in front of them?
Yep.
Mileage, I left that the same, $20,000. Looks like we're pretty close to that halfway through the year. Surcharges on fines, I lowered that. Every ticket we write for the county, for the sheriff's office, they made this rule probably 10 years ago probably, but there's a line on the fines where we get $5 of every ticket put back into the county's budget. $8,000 for weapons permits. The reason I lowered that, I'm kind of thinking with the passage of the Second Amendment law in the state of Iowa, where you do not need a permit to actually carry a weapon. I'm thinking probably a third of the people won't come in and get them, somewhere in there. So that's why I did lower that.
Renewals.
Yep. $10,000 for miscellaneous fees. And as you can see why that went down, I explained earlier, is we created a separate line item for prisoners coming in from outside the county. $40,000 for sheriff's fees and $7,500 for miscellaneous reimbursements, for a total revenue $85,900. And then the next line is salary, regular employees. That is Chief Deputy Kretzinger and Lieutenant Tom Franzen. Chief Deputy Kretzinger got the 15.12%. He is attached to 85% of my wage, and Lieutenant Franzen got the 5.5. There, this line's right, Scott, overtime and holiday pay,
Okay, thanks.
$16,000. 29,209 for the insurance, 5,000 protective supplies. Or no, excuse me, that's hardware and ammunition. Safety and protective, I took that out. We'll just have to clean this up someday, Courtney.
It's totally fine. And the weird thing is if you don't use that line item, after so many years, it goes away. It
Okay.
doesn't show up, but you can see there was 2,000 budgeted in 20 and 21, so that's why it shows up.
Yeah,
on
and we
the
didn't
report.
use any of it.
Dumb question on the hardware and ammunition. What'd you do last year? It has zeros in it. And where did that
We
ammo
use
come
our,
from?
we use our rural base.
Oh, okay.
There's a rural line
Okay,
too,
no
so if we don't go over that,
Okay.
and ammunition was hard to get last year. 2,000 for education and training. $25,000 for a motor vehicle. We're in the process of trying to replace our F-150 police package pickup truck. And just found out that Ford has stopped production on those. So we're gonna have to wait. Or get something else, but it is nice to have one pickup in the fleet. $14,000 for radio telephone. When I talked about the pickup before, that 25,000 was for motor vehicle equipment, so that's oil changes, tires, batteries, any equipment for the cars, and then $25,000 for the vehicle. The next line, the 200,758, that is my salary and my two administrative assistants, Sean and Melissa. That's with me at the 15.12 and them at 5.5. Insurance, 50,760. $11,000 for general office supplies.
Does that mean go up? Means last year you spent so much, there was so far this year. It looks like you've already spent 15 grand on this.
A lot of this is costs associated with startup of a new building, things that weren't in the plans. 7,000 for investigative supplies. Sometimes we use that, sometimes we don't. It just depends on what equipment we need. Wearing apparel and uniforms, 1,000. 4,000 for tasers. We have a lease agreement with Taser every year. 250 for postage. No, 250 for official publications and notifications. 500 for postage. 12,000 for educational. 17,000 for medical and health services.
You're off to
You're
the-
off one
You
line.
need
Yeah,
your-
I need a ruler.
you need your bifocals.
17,000 education and training. 500 medical and health services. 3,000 office data processing and maintenance. 400 dues and memberships, that's to the ISSDA. And 13,500 for data processing equipment and 3,000 for office furniture.
That data process, that includes all your computers in the cars and stuff.
No, the computers in the cars come out of motor vehicle equipment.
Okay.
This would be for any computers we need new in the office, our license agreements for Shield that we have to pay every year.
That license agreements.
And then contract law enforcement, this starts to fall under the rural side of the budget. Between our 10 contract towns, we get $70,000 per year from Glidden, Breda, Arcadia, all the towns. That's what we generate total there. Salaries for all the deputies went up 5.5. So that showed up at 458,780. Overtime, 35,000. FICA, 37,775. IPERS, 45,878. Employee group health insurance, 94,080. Ammunition, 8,500. Uniform, 7,000. Motor vehicle equipment, 90,000, so that's for maintenance and equipment if we buy a new vehicle. And actual motor vehicles, I usually budgeted 25,000 per vehicle. I raised that up to 30,000 this year, just not knowing where the prices were gonna be. If they're gonna go up, if we're gonna still get our fleet discounts, government discount, all that stuff. I assume we will. But I know the prices have went up a lot. Any questions about any of that?
Vehicle that last weekend, is that 60,000 for one vehicle?
Two. Hopefully depending on availability.
You must get a good discount.
We do.
So they're 35,000, almost $36,000 difference, right?
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Just on it, what is it, on page 1? You don't have your FICA and IFRS in there, is there a reason for that? On those?
Yeah, they show up.
They come out of supplemental.
Yeah,
Okay.
supplemental.
Yeah.
So,
And
that's something else. It'd be nice to clean that line up and take it out of there because it shows up somewhere else.
well, that's a software issue. So when we generate payroll, it automatically comes out of the general fund and I have to do a journal entry to move it.
Okay, yeah, because it does it in both the general for Lieutenant Franzen and Cret Singer. Then our
Yeah, it's
office.
not a huge amount, I'm sure, since it's just 2 of those.
Yeah, and I should have included that in this report when I ran it. It included supplemental. That way you could have seen it like
Okay.
when I first, but I didn't run it on this one. It's in there,
Okay.
similar to the jail. If you look at the jail, they've got 2 lines. that comes out of it.
Right.
If there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next thing.
We take care of that
Yep.
landscape field, being Ken's here.
I'll go ahead and say it's item number 3. Review/approve check for Nat Forkey landscaping.
You know, we held a check to check that out versus a contract, what was in there. And we did have some value engineering in there for the rock, which was up for $7,733. So there's an additional $3,300 there, and it's have not gotten any quotes on any tickets or anything. And,
Questions?
I have not, or what the price of the rock was, but I did research out to another vendor, and he said it'll run anywhere from $90 to $100 a ton. So that's like 30 ton of difference in rock. And when I visit between Ken and Tony and what we got back from Fort, he said there was we put additional rock up around the air cooler, air exchanger up here front. There's some holes there. There was a triangle up there that was supposed to be grass that we, instead of mowing it, they put rock in there. There was additional rock they put on the south side of the building, fill in some of the gaps between the sidewalk, right? You said.
Yeah, and actually kind of joined the 2 buildings
Got
together.
joined the 2 buildings back in this area. And I think there's additional rock that got used out there in front in between 2 driveways meeting. That was part of that value engineering, but I think that took more of it. So from what I'm finding out, and anybody that's worked with landscape rock, rock doesn't go very far. Doesn't go as far as you think it should. I guess at this point, I'm not getting any plan where any differences here, so I guess I would suggest that we release that check. Unless somebody's got any questions.
I don't really have any questions per se, but I think going forward, I consider this a learning experience, you know, having a conversation before any of that's done, before you spend that money, come to us. And we're gonna be in a big project going in with this SCH here soon. Just make sure that we
Wow.
say, hey, if it's gonna be additional, talk to us.
And would be, and I think it'd be better if there's better documentation.
And I don't like leaving a vendor unpaid. That bothers me,
I mean,
no matter what way we look at
This thing
this.
here, I had, this thing what Ken got and I got. That kind of explains how they split it up. So it don't mean too much to me. But I guess I'm saying we should get the vendor bill.
Well, and I kind of agree with what Stephanie said, that, you know, I think going forward, you know, I mean, if you got an expense like this, if it's coming out of our budget, there should be a bid for it. You know, and maybe there should have been several landscape people putting in a bid as opposed to just hiring somebody. I mean, you know, if a person knows that there's a big pot of money here and I'm the only guy that's gonna do it, well, I'm gonna put on another 2,000. I mean, that's why we do the bidding process, you know, so that we can avoid.
And I'll
Things like
kind of agree
this.
with you on that, but this is the case, I think, where they were doing the job and they wanted to finish up right. It wasn't right the way it was, so they put some more to it to make it look right. Them type of projects are hard to bid. I mean, but I think more important than anything, it needs to be documentation. So we know.
Well, they're not hard to bid. I mean, you can see how much
Well,
those I've had some landscaping done and they give me a bid.
I know.
And if it's too high, then I'll go through make another phone call, you know? I mean, that's the way I do it, but,
Well, this is the case, I mean, when you're in the middle of a job, I think it's kind of hard to put somebody else on the same job.
I don't know if Tony just went with, let's get it done. I don't, no idea.
Yeah, I'm just,
The work's done.
I'm to the point where I'm running around chasing, it's going in a circle and I say, let's pay it, get it done, no, we'll forget about it. And I think, I agree with what Stephen says, let's make some notes. Make sure we try not to have it happen again. But that's easy said than do. I think particularly there've been more documentation, so we've been able to follow. After we got this and I kind of did some talking, I kind of forgot about that value engineering. After I got my memory jarred, I remember that part of it. But you know, this thing has been going on for so long that there's a lot of things that happen that we tend to.
so the original question that I had was, is it coming out of the capital budget or is it coming out of the sheriff's budget?
It came out of the jail budget
Okay,
and the check's already been written. Basically, hope I've been pulling it.
Well, I'll make a motion that we release the check.
I'll second. There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for your.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, Ken.
so Ken, when do you think we'll be able to move?
We had a discussion Friday afternoon, phone conference, for about an hour with Noah Detention and can't remember his name from Southwest Communications. It went good. Noah Detention is going to be here this week on site, finishing up their punch list items, which shouldn't take a couple days. Southwest Communications is going to send up their best tech to finish up their stuff. There's like in the female cell, if you go to open E5 door, it opens E7. E7 opens E5. So they got to change some wiring there. The lobby door coming in, the handicap accentuator wasn't wired up. They got to fix that. There's some training to do. And then the only other one is Willoughby water management. And they just have to come adjust some settings on the plumbing fixture. Some of the water doesn't come out fast enough. Some of it comes out too fast. So they've got probably a day of work. So hopefully by the end of, not this week, but next week, everybody will be done. And we can have a final meeting. Wrap this thing up.
And these all fall under no detention.
Right, Noah Detention contracted, Southwest Communications, and also Willoughby Water Management. So The bad part is they're all a long ways away.
And they allowed Dalton to get into that system now.
Yeah, the control room system, where all the cameras, like the NVR and all that stuff. We were basically gonna be kind of at their mercy, and we talked to them for quite a while, and they've allowed Dalton access in there. If we need to add another camera down the road, he can do it. They'll walk him through it step by step. So we save a $4,500 trip charge up here, and he can take care of it, so.
I felt really good after the conversation on Friday, so a lot better.
I'm gonna go over there now and see what's getting done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ken.
The IT department will be up here.
It's online.
It was online.
Yeah, I'm online right now. Looks like the,
Let's just for a second.
So,
He's Department 52.
He's there.
oh, he's in South Dakota. Morning, Dalton.
He's one of the
Morning.
presidents.
Oh, you're muted. Something.
can you hear me?
Who are you using? Do we have an internet? Comes up here?
Hmm?
Do we have an internet?
I don't know. It happens every week. It goes to that screen.
Can you hear me?
You need to turn your mute on, off.
Hello? What about now?
Nope.
Well, he's figuring that out. How long does yours take?
Not that long.
Or, oh, wait.
Can you hear me now?
We're both right here.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Dalton, while you figure that out, we're gonna go ahead and do one other section quick. Good luck.
He says, I think you are having audio issues. He's saying that to us.
Haven't what?
Audio issues.
His picture had mute on it, a red mute on the corner. Maybe we need to get IT help.
Well, Ben is here. so-
Somebody go get
Ben's
that.
here.
I know.
Why don't you just go?
Yeah,
You want
just,
me or Ashton?
Ashton goes first because
Okay.
she's up before.
I didn't know if you're looking at me or forgot your black.
Somebody. All right, Ashton's number is 07? 07. Morning, Ashton.
Hello,
Morning.
starting with general basic recorder budget here as far as revenue. Literally no changes have been made on that part. On the expense section, salaries, regular employees, a deputy will remain at 75%. She went from 70 to 75% last year. And with the adjustments made this year and that big 5% jump for her last year, I feel that's very fair. Part-time increase was at 5.5%. I did add some in there. It was always under the impression that when Sarah was part-time GIS recorder, assessor, and that when certain employees were, or when the assessor's office was ready, they would take her on. The remainder of that, it was kind of just a, I'm gonna say the recorder's office was shorted part-time hours in order to make that work as one full-time position, and that when she left to do the assessor office more, we would get those hours back. So there's that adjustment in there for that. FICA, IPERS, and insurance adjusted accordingly. The only other lines they were in, I lowered telephone slightly and office data processing maintenance just slightly. Hopefully we can stretch those dollars. I was hoping to lower another office equipment furniture line. However, in talking with Dalton and IT, he said we will need 2 computers in our office this year. They're over 5 years old. So I was not able to lower that as I had hoped. I also oversee the Fund 24 Recorders Record Management Fund. Not something that I have used the last couple years, trying to save up money in that fund. It's a fund that we use to preserve records. Right now, there's just barely $35,000 in that fund. Can be used to scan, index records, hoping to use that this year as we've been trying to get bids and work forward there. It can be used for recording of records, but it would be a project that would probably not get done in my lifetime. It only accrues about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Are there any questions on either the general basic or record management funds?
Nope. Some prior years too. correct?
Yep, the quarterly one, jump right into the quarterly report. Quarterly report, numbers wise, we're up mainly because of revenue stamps. That's just the sales taxes paid on sales of properties. Otherwise, there's really no major adjustments. The state portion, same thing. It's a big year. People are just buying between boats and house sales. It's just, things are expensive. Taxes are high because of that. The office otherwise for quarterly has been very busy. We've been doing boat renewals, which we do over once every 3 years. We just finished our off-road vehicle renewal period. The boats expire in April, so we're kind of in the middle of that now. The Iowa Department of Revenue is making adjustments to their monthly report that I send in. They're going to try to do it more electronic, like everything else. Right now, it's just paper. We file. Iowa Land Records launched a new interface on the way that we record electronic documents. So I was happy to host them here over at the library and hosted a training for attorneys, bankers, whoever else files electronically to help train them in that electronic filing. And then the only other thing that we've kind of noticed, and it's been being noticed among recorders in general, is an increase in possible marriage frauds. We think there's probably just some confusion with COVID. You cannot get married via Zoom or electronic means. You still have to be in person. And we've just been noticing with the signatures and the dates that maybe people are thinking that they could have gotten married via Zoom, and those are not legally legit marriages. So I just thought that was an interesting fact. That's something that's been noticed. Some confusion with COVID, that everything went electronic, but not marriages. They have not. So other than that,
Congratulations on your certificate.
thanks. Yep, I did complete the NACO leadership program. It's something that's open to all elected officials if you're interested, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. It was a great program. Someone asked me if it was hard. It wasn't hard. It was more just knowledge, soaking in different knowledge, not that it was taking tests and hard that way. So it was good. Thank you.
Any questions on either of those items? The quarterly report or the budget review?
I'll make a motion, we approve the reporter's report.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Don't
Thanks.
miss that we had text.
Can you hear me now?
It's the audio, so.
Can you hear me now?
Thanks,
All right, I
Ashley.
give up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dalton, you ready?
He's you right now. See it.
No, he's not. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and go to item number 5, GIS fiscal year 23 budget review. Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you? So general basic revenue, I kept that the same at $500 for maps and data releases. Just kind of seems like that's where, after when I took over in 2020, it kind of seems about where I've been. Expense wise, I did the 5.5% for salaries. And the FICA and IFRS did change accordingly. I left my group insurance the same as 2021, 2022, because I don't think there was much change there in our insurance rates. Office supplies stayed the same at the 500. I did increase employee mileage and sustenance because gas prices and just hotel prices and everything have kind of gone up. And I'm just gonna try. Every other year, there's a magic conference, which will happen this April. And that one's in Missouri this year. And it's within the the Midwest states. So it was supposed to be
Jack,
Omaha in 2020, so it would have been cheaper, but we didn't have a conference in 2020. Data processing and service, I did jump that by 400. It does say zeros, but my equipment line item, that 50933 that comes out of that bottom line item is actually a service for my plotter. And I just feel like that should be moved and come out of the appropriate account rather than have zeros to show that. So I did take that money from there in the equipment and I moved it to data processing and service. Educational training, I bumped that down from 2,500 to 2,000. I don't know how much I'm going to need now that I've taken all of the pro classes and whatnot, but there will be things that could come up as the arcade and the language changes of GIS. So I did take 500 away from that. The data processing GIS layers is all of our ArcGIS licenses. So that's for the whole county, that's the conservation licenses, that's for the planning and zoning. So everybody that has a license comes out of that budget, and that usually gets paid in May or June. So that's at a zero right now as far as payment purposes. Memberships and dues, I bumped that, I negated 450 from there to bring it to 300, just because I'm only at 142, and the year before I spent 192. So that $50 Nina one should be coming out here soon. My budget has just kind of been, you know, playing with it to figure it out since it came out of a bigger budget back in 2020. And like I said, equipment's at 1,100. I did move that 400 to data processing. Is there any questions or comments, concerns towards the budget?
I don't have a question, but
Thank you for reading.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really nice write-up.
Yeah, Jason did a really nice write-up on that grant.
All right, if there's no more questions on that. To the quarterly report.
Okay, the quarterly report for GIS was from October to December 2021. Few big things that I highlighted.
best.
JB with Readiness Services had asked me to get a hold of some West Side data. We've kind of talked about this before, so getting the data from Crawford County and manipulating it and making it into workable maps was a big thing I did this quarter for him. IGIC, which is the Iowa GIS Information Council, had their quarterly meeting. We talked about upcoming Magic, which is April 12th through the 14th in Branson, Missouri. It's going to be a big conference, first time meeting since COVID. There was talk of 2022 elections for the current chair, vice chair, and past chair. Obviously, it would be the vice chair that is coming up. It was brought to my attention that I might be one of the people on the elections for that. So I thought that was kind of neat that they,
So what is this conference? again?
the Magic Conference? Or are you talking about the elections for IGIC?
The one in Branson, Missouri?
Yep, that's the Magic. That's the Mid-American GIS Information Council. So it's a meeting of all GIS people. It's Kansas, Arkansas, Iowa, Nebraska. There's just about 11 states in there where we go and have a conference directly about GIS. I have theirs if you would like to take a look at it. I haven't, decided whether I would like to ask to go yet or not. I have to figure out,
Test.
Test is good. Carl did say that if I went to any meetings outside of Iowa, it would be magic. He did highly recommend that when he was outgoing, and we were supposed to go, him and I, in 2020 to Omaha, Nebraska, since it was supposed to be in Nebraska in 2020.
Carl, you go then.
Yeah, I don't think he went to one in like Arkansas, but I think if we were, somewhat close, he would try to go.
How many days is it?
It's the 12th through the 14th, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday and Friday would be drive time if I were, or Monday and then Thursday when we were done, it's about an 8 or 9 hour drive. So it would be a get back real quick. There were a few people, Penny Vossler from Boone, Paula Lemke from Cerro Gordo, and Travis Garish from Franklin County that we all, if they decided to go, they were going to all kind of carpool to save money on gas and that kind of stuff.
Well, as long as it's a benefit to the Carroll County taxpayer.
Yeah. That would be the final.
We don't need to be jetting around the country.
No,
On the taxpayers' dime.
I know that. And like I said, I printed off the agenda and I was kind of looking at it and just thinking if it could be a benefit or not, and that I would approach you guys. But I just wanted to let you know that we've been talking about it in our IJIC meetings. Any other questions on that? Okay. The ICIT board, which is the Iowa County's Information Technology. I am on that board as the co-chair for the education committee, and we put on Oktoberfest in October in Des Moines, and it was a great turnout. We had great classes for both IT and GIS. I'm working with them currently right now for ITAG, which is June in Des Moines, where it's a technology for IT and GIS. That's June 14th through the 17th. So we're getting our chairs ready for the education and getting that conference set up.
Aren't you on the entertainment?
I am helping with entertainment as well as education and signups, and we're going to be getting all of that out here shortly. So it's been fun. It's kind of nice to be the one to dabble in the education as far as what would benefit counties and help out everybody in GIS for Iowa and obviously Carroll County. GeoCom, we had that big data submission grant for $6,000. Jason put a nice thing where Carl and I had helped out getting the county some grants, and it's every 6 months you can get a $6,000 grant from Iowa for having your data up to date. There were huge changes this year where you couldn't have any critical errors. So that was a lot. There were quite a few counties that didn't make it, that normally do make it. It was a lot of you do your data changes and you submit it to GeoCom, and then they send it back to you. Well, they had so many people submitting that it was taking 2 or 3 days to get your data back. So it was just kind of a hurry up and wait at the end there when you're trying to secure these funds. But we did it, we made it, and learned a lot over the past 6 months with GeoCom. And then a huge thing that we did was redistricting, working with you guys and the redistricting commission on getting those maps submitted, and the auditor's office to get everything submitted, and all the census stuff done. It was a busy quarter.
Anybody have any questions?
Thanks and thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a nice article.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dalton.
Okay, I'm here.
Here. All right, first thing we're going to start with will be your fiscal year 23 budget review.
Let's pull her up here. Okay, does everybody have a copy of the budget? I think Courtney changed one thing, then we ended up sending it over to you again on Friday.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess we'll just go line item by line item. Let's start with salaries. Did the regular increase for the 5%, putting us at the 135, 172 for salaries for regular employees. FICA is at its regular raise with that, brought us up to 10,000. Calculated the IPERS out to 12. Employee insurance was at 29,000. We did have a slight increase because on data processing and supplies. I generally go over that line item. That's where we buy like all the like mouse pads, keyboards, screens, just anything that goes on the outside of a computer, I guess, any peripherals or anything that has to do with the computer comes out of that line item. Even our network equipment, sometimes we'll take out of that. So that's the increase in that. Employee mileage and subsistence. We did ask for a little bit more. We're planning on doing a little bit, going to a couple places this year. Hopefully hit up some conferences. So I did put a little bit more in that line item this year. I didn't budget for anything last year, and we ended up eating about half of it already of what I proposed this year. For telephone and telegraph services, I proposed $10,000. It's the same as it was last year. We're hoping to save some money in that line item. We've been moving the firewalls over to get rid of the TLANs of Western Network Networks, which should save us on monthly fees with multiple departments. Data processing services, we did drop that down to $10,000, it looks like, from 11. Speaking with Rich and Scott, I think we did talk about dropping that down to 5 though, so that looks like it's not reflected on there for some reason. Courtney, was that on my original one I sent you?
I pulled these numbers from what you gave me.
Okay, I must not have changed that. That should be 5, the data processing services. Talking with Scott and Rich, since I didn't spend any this year, that generally covers like if we have a contractor come in and work on something. We're gonna go ahead and drop that down to 5. And then educational training and services there. We have used that some, but we really didn't take advantage of the full amount this year, so we did cut that in half. We still plan on doing some certifications and stuff. It's just not that costly when everything's online. You don't have to go everywhere for it. We did increase data processing and maintenance just by everything that we have from last year. We calculated what they went up from last year. And so just our like any of our data processing services for like the servers or any of the software that we use that we pay for comes out of that. Dues and membership, we're going to keep that the same. And that looks like the last thing would be the data processing equipment. We haven't used all of it this year. I do have a proposal for some equipment after this budget worksheet. But we're hoping to get some servers next year. So that's why we budgeted the 65,000. Of course, if we want to replace some computers locally or some other equipment, that'll come out of there too. Any questions about this?
Dalton, you cheated yourself on your raises by a decent sum.
No, I calculated it's correct.
The
That-
132 to
You
135.
can't take that number
That's
because that
it might
number's
have been
not
a
right.
budget.
That had Carl's salary in it too.
Oh, okay,
I
thank
thought
you.
it
I was
was-
just doing the simple math.
No, that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I
Okay.
thought of that. There's,
I mean, on 100,000, it
well,
would be
Ben
5,500.
wasn't probably in there a full year and Carl was in there.
Yeah, and I talked to Dalton about that a little bit. I just
Okay,
looked at their current salaries, both of them,
perfect.
5.5, and then.
Yeah, and then since it'll just be Ben and I going forward, obviously it'll look a little smoother in the coming years when we budget. So
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Any more questions? Okay. All right. Moving
Thanks,
on to-
Dalton.
Thanks, Dalton.
Yeah, no
Moving
problem.
on to
Next item, the equipment approval from coverage one.
Yeah, so you'll notice I generally get multiple quotes. But we're trying to stick with like the same network equipment. And Meraki has what's called competition quoting. Now with competition quoting, if you get a quote from 3 different companies for the same equipment, the first company who gets the quote is going to get the best quote no matter what. And so it's just kind of who you go through. Converge One, we bought all our other network equipment that's replaced everything in our network through them. Besides these 2 main switches on the rack, it was a really big chunk, and I didn't want to try to get it when I spent like $40,000 on switches before. We did budget for this, so it's just something we're just trying to get approval for since it's such a large amount, the $16,000. This does get us 2 nice data switches that'll go into our main rack that's in the new jail. So this handles data really nice.
And you already budgeted for this?
Yes. I'm just not gonna spend 16,000 without asking you guys.
I appreciate that.
You don't need approval for this, though.
Well, I think you could make a motion just to approve this proposal from Converge One.
Okay.
That way it's on record that you guys okayed it.
Because we're probably going to approve it, the expenditure.
You will when you write the check.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
will
I'll
say,
take,
no, I appreciate communication.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too.
So we do need a motion?
It would not hurt to just accept the proposal. That way he has permission to get it ordered.
I'll make a motion to accept this proposal from Coverage One.
I'll second
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
it.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, item number 6, we have 1 plot here.
Yeah, and that's just adding on an acreage, and I'll make a motion to approve the plat.
I would say.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports.
Well, I can go first. Just remind you to email into CADC if you plan on going that Debbie Durham thing. I did the radio and newspaper last year, or last week. Tuesday was policy council that we had Tuesday night. Basically went through all the health and safety classroom programs. There's no issues there. Went through all their program reports. Some of the numbers are down into certain areas of the attendance, and that's all due to COVID situation, which the feds are aware of. And but our center base in Carroll is at 31. We're allowed 32, and we're also at 27 in Prairie. We're allowed at 32. Probably the one thing that we had an issue is one of our home base. We're not getting as many visits out there. That needs to be brought up to date and get speed up. As far as the budget and everything, we're running good on that. We did have one area that we're going to have to get carried over, which was part of this, that we did do a waiver for about $377,000 that we're carrying over to next year. That's based off of the center base programs, because we didn't get those started a full year. So we're going to carry those over. We did go through the school readiness program and the strategic plan. She did report on the community needs assessment that was done. And some of the things that she found in that was that in this area, there's a high number of kids in foster care and a high number of needs for kids for free lunches, and also the high needs for childcare, which I think is one of those things we've always was aware of.
I thought food costs were covered in the school systems right now.
Well, yeah, but they're saying that this, when they're doing the Head Start program, that the number of kids that are required that should have free lunches is what they're showing. Basically went to the vaccine and mask mandate and where that's at, and some that's being held up in courts and stuff. We did go through the annual report. I can pass that around to you. There's some numbers in there and stuff. You can look at that for Head Start. So that was basically that. There's a lot of stuff there. And then on Thursday, had new opportunities board meeting. We basically went through the same stuff I just went through here as far as policy council. We went through our financials. We did our one item in our financials looked real crazy. It was up 4,000 some percent. And that's due to we got some of the money from off the fire in advance, and that's what's throwing that off. We also did approve, then the main board approved the federal waiver of the $377,515 carried forward. We approved the weatherization assistance program for utilities for heat for $312,707, and also approved the weatherization assistance program through MECA, which is $54,880, and then we also approved the one through IPL for $61,976. The first one is Mid-America. The second one is I'm not sure. The last one is Iowa Power. And then we approved also one for Black Hill for $8,857, and we also approved the additional signatories for the weatherization program. We did go through a risk assessment analysis needs, and one of the things there was for create better air purification in our buildings. Try to help 20 families with basic needs like auto repairs, baby showers. The other thing is to improve on mental health issues and virtual training. That was based with it. Then also this morning earlier, I went out and had a signed documents about new opportunities. This week, I have a month today yet. There's union negotiations, and then Wednesday is the conference board for the budget. Anything else that comes up?
Go next. Last week was nothing, city council meeting. This week, Gene and I are doing union negotiations and conference board at noon on Wednesday.
All right, I can go next. Last week I didn't have any official meetings, but I did receive some phone calls and had quite a few conversations with Zach at Secondary Roads. And then I did do a jail tour kind of on my own to kind of see how things were going. So I'm really exciting news. And I'll be able to tell you more about it once we actually have a board meeting. But we received an email, and Carroll Area Daycare received the Iowa Child Care Stabilization Subgrant in the amount of $234,561.60. It's huge news for them.
How much?
$234,561.60.
What's the name of the grant?
Iowa Child Care Stabilization. This award is for a 3-month period starting today, so that would have been effective 1/13. And then there is reasons you can only use these funds, just kind of like everything else.
Yeah.
I didn't read through them, but
What are they going to be spent on?
personnel cost, including payroll, salaries, similar compensation for employee benefits, premium pay cost, but obviously I think we all agree here that that's kind of hard to do because it's not sustainable for the following year. But rent, including rent under a lease agreement or payment on any mortgage obligation.
That is good.
Utilities, facility maintenance or improvements, health and safety expenses, personal equipment and supplies related to COVID-19, and maintain services such good services and necessary to maintain resume childcare services and mental health support for children and employees. But once we actually have our board meeting and talk about it more, she just sent out the good news through via email, so I kind of wanted to tell you guys about it.
Yeah, that's great. And I think there's gonna be more of that coming too.
I think I think the highlight of childcare is it's really out there. It's got a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
This week I have the conference board Tuesday, and I think I have
Wednesday at noon.
She sent out a correction. She had it
Yeah.
wrong.
Wednesday, I have it in here on Wednesday. And then I do think I have the newspaper and radio.
I did it last week.
Well, he's not here anyway, so
Yeah, I think it's usually him, man.
that's fine. For me. And I think that is it.
Okay, I can go next. Last week had joint, first of all, had a Board of Health meeting on Wednesday and to discuss the grant situation. When they complete that process today, I'll know more. So I'll be able to report on that next week. And then there was a joint EMS 911 Service Board meeting on Wednesday evening as well. That's the annual meeting, and it was basically a budget approval meeting. Or they presented the budget, but the public health, I'll have more on that when we do the public health meeting or the public hearing on February 17th. So this week, today, the Board of Health Chairman and myself will have a Zoom meeting with the Stevens Group to set up their delivery
Close out.
on, we'll see how that goes. And like I said before, I think that's going to be a well-attended meeting. I'm not sure where the location of that's going to be. I think there's going to be quite a few people there. So we'll have that. I should be able to report on that. I will be able to report on that on Monday. And the conference board meeting on Wednesday. And that is my week.
Courtney, what do we have for?
So I have a budget amendment that I've gotten ready, so next week we'll schedule the hearing. Of the treasurer's 23 budget. Soil and water will be here with their request. IT will have their quarterly report. And then the comm center will present their fiscal 23 budget. And I plan on having the ones that you guys haven't heard from yet. Trying to get all those scheduled. We can't do it all on Monday. I may talk to you guys about having a meeting. You want to call it a budget workshop or whatever you want to call it, just to get them done it in here, but you know, a budget takes 10-15 minutes for them to present it. It doesn't take long. So I think we can get a lot of it done at the meeting. And I
Yeah,
know-
we could do that to see how many we get done. Always have another one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping with the union negotiations that are you doing today, that maybe the ambulance and the roads, I, like Zach said, his budget shouldn't change too much with whatever the union negotiations, because his isn't, he doesn't have specific line items for salary. It's spread out. And he doesn't think a 1% here or there will make a difference. It's probably more for the ambulance, so he can finalize his salary over time, the person, that stuff, but.
So the 7th, you're saying next Monday will be a longer meeting,
Well,
or
there'll be a lot on
Yeah.
it. I don't know that how long it'll be.
And I'd have no problem to go longer if we have to. Get it
Well,
done. get it-
Yeah, I mean, we've been here an hour and 15 minutes. We knocked out quite a bit. I mean.
Well, you told me
1,
my
2, 3,
expectations
4.
were to be done by 10.
So we knocked out 5 budget reviews today, and you did a great job in moving it along.
So you had wanted me to reach out to those counties for that question about public health. Sent that request out last week and haven't heard anything from anybody yet, but it's out there.
Hopefully this week.
And I only sent it to the counties that were on that list.
Okay.
I don't know if this is bad news or just pain in the butt news, but redistricting, we sent in all our paperwork to the state and they rejected it because the city of Carroll vacated property out by New Hope back this fall, and it wasn't part of the census. The census was done prior to that. So when we did our precincts, that just got left in the rural area and we did not separate it out. Well, there's a chunk, that's the city of Carroll. It needs to be in their precinct. You can't split the census block. So what we need to do is redo our agreement with Carroll to include those 5 rural people that are in that census block and allow them to vote in Carroll. Now, right now they vote in Lauderdale. So one of the properties affected would be, and I'm not sure I know their last name's Vincent, and they live just east of like the middle school on that paved road. I would hope that they'd be happier coming to Carroll to vote than driving to Lauderdale, but I don't want to speak for anybody, but there's 5 people affected. So we need to redo that, and then we need to redo our ordinance because the precincts are different. So what I'm doing now is trying to figure out how to legally describe not the area that was annexed, because that's easy. It's the other area that's left. So hopefully next week I'll have that and we can sign those and get the agreement sent to Carroll, and then we'll have to have ordinance readings on that ordinance again.
So our only issue, the issue of the supervisor district is not affected. It's just with us in the city of Carroll.
Yes, so if we're looking to throw blame out there, we can throw a little blame at the city of Carroll for annexing that property this fall and not waiting till after. I'm totally joking, but we need to account for that area.
So it's
And those
just
people.
that was in transition at the time.
It wasn't part of the census data. So when we looked at that census map, it has 5 people. Well, part of that is now the city of Carroll.
Do we have to have 3 public hearings again?
We can probably just have 1. Because we're just amending what we've already done. But, so if anybody asked you why the census stuff isn't out, why the precinct stuff isn't out, well, that's why.
So does the city of Carroll have to go through the same process? then?
They do. They do. Theirs was rejected as well.
Dalton, is there anything online?
Ruben?
We're done.
No, I don't see anything. Sorry, I was looking.
Nope, you're good. Thank you. All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Just one thing here.
Yep.
Hold on a second.
Great.
No, that's not that. Per what Courtney said, I requested that the Stevens Group requested some information, and I'm trying to find that email that we talked about this, but they're having difficulty. There was a big study done by IDPH in the last 5 years, but and they poured over it on all the counties and the counties that are our size and would have similar, but they really found nothing substantial with it. And so their request was, I don't know, it was probably 20 counties, I'm guessing. The
Yeah.
list was, and they were all about Carroll County size. The request was to go send a request out to those counties about the cost of public health in their county, what it cost, and what public health or health services cost was in 2021. So we're waiting for that. I got an email. Like I said, we've got a meeting coming up there here this afternoon with them. He's saying that the document that they have put together right now is 60 pages long. So it's going to be very lengthy, very detailed.
And you'll summarize that to about a paragraph to bring to us.
I'll do my best.
Oof, to 60 pages.
7-page paragraph.
So I just wanted, to follow up on what Courtney had said about their request. So, I mean, they're really digging in and.
Oh, we'll see what it brings.
Yeah. Okay.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I didn't get this second.
Aye.
Oh, has there been no second?
Also.
All right.
Aye.